You know the drill. Your executive says, let's do an offsite. And suddenly you have 12 tabs open, 3 spreadsheets going, and a bad case of decision fatigue. This is where Troop shines, helping you plan without the chaos. Whether it's an offsite, a team retreat, or a last-minute meeting, Troop lets you compare locations, budgets, and travel options to make confident decisions. Troop keeps you organized every step of the way. So no more chasing info or juggling last-minute changes across 5 different platforms. If you are ready to take control of your meetings, head to leaderassistant.com/troop. That's leaderassistant.com/troop.
So hello, my name is Ricky Blanco Saavedra, and today's leadership quote comes from Jack Welch. Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. When you become a leader, success is all about growing others.
The Leader Assistant podcast exists to encourage and challenge assistants to become confident, game-changing leader assistants.
Hey friends, welcome to the Leader Assistant podcast. It's your host, Jeremy Burrows, and this is episode 360. You can check out the show notes for this conversation at leaderassistant.com/360. Again, that's leaderassistant.com/360. Today, I'm very excited to be speaking with Ricky Blanco. Ricky is a senior executive assistant at Viva Exec, and so he supports the CTO and head of go-to-marketing at Shippo. So, Ricky, first of all, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
Tell us what part of the world you're in and what you like to do when you're not working.
Yeah, so I'm in Guatemala City, born and bred here. I'm super excited to be here. I love my country. It's where I was born and raised, and in my free time, I like to spend time with my family. I have a beautiful 4-legged daughter who I love to spend time with. She's a Schnauzer. Her name is Kaya. And I'm also a huge reader and writer. So you can see in the background my blurred bookshelf. It's a total mess. But that's kind of like what I like to do in a nutshell.
Nice. Do you have a certain genre of books that you like to read or that you're kind of stuck on right now?
Yeah, I love psychological thrillers. I love romance. I love fantasy. And I've started to dip my toes into crime. So police, crime scenes, all of that.
Nice. Love it. Well, thanks again for being here. So I mentioned your title, Senior Executive Assistant, and you are, and make sure I'm understanding this correctly, you are a contracted executive assistant, remote executive assistant for Viva, which is a subscription service that hires, trains, and matches high caliber executive assistants with leaders at high growth companies. And so just to clarify, so you work for Viva, but Shippo essentially contracts them to provide an assistant, aka you, to support their CTO, right?
Yes, that's right. I am technically a Viva employee, and Shippo subscribed to Viva for my services.
Awesome. How did you get into, kind of 2 questions, how did you get into the EA role, assisting in general? And then specifically, how'd you get into this kind of remote contract role at Viva?
Yeah, so the answer kind of like goes hand in hand. It's one and the same. It was a surprise for me when I bumped into an EA role. But to give you a little bit of backstory, I started working back in 2020 when the pandemic hit Guatemala. So ever since I started working at this local company, I went remote. So that's something that I've appreciated for the whole of my professional life, let's say. But I wasn't really passionate about that job. I was in charge of doing the QA for training programs for all of the employees at that company. And my manager, we didn't see eye to eye in a lot of things, so I decided to resign. And then I thought that maybe the corporate world wasn't the path that I wanted to take, so I decided to work with my dad, who was starting a company of his own. And when I started working with him, I was doing a lot of different things. I was doing marketing, I was doing social media, I was doing sales, I was doing admin work, and that lasted for about a little bit under 3 years. And I thought that I wanted to just have a change of scenery. I wanted to try something new. I wanted to try something that I hadn't done before. So I started doing what everyone does. I just went into LinkedIn and started scrolling through the jobs that I got recommended for my profile. And Viva actually popped up, and I thought that it was interesting. I read about the company, I did some research, and what really resonated about the company with me was the mission, because we empower women in Latin America and strive to eradicate gender inequality, which is something that I'm really passionate about. And it was an EA role. So I applied, and it took some back and forth, but in the end, I was contacted and did like all of the tests and all of the requirements, did the interviews, and long story short, I was hired by Viva. I had no EA experience prior to that. I hadn't been an executive assistant, or I hadn't assisted someone in particular. But when I was going through the process, I saw that all of the requirements and all of like the core EA skills or experience needed, let's say, were things that I did for myself throughout my previous jobs. So I thought that I was qualified for the role. I went through the whole training program, and after 1 month, my customer success team told me that they had a customer lined up for me. We did some intro calls. I started to meet the executives at Shippo, and I got onboarded. And I'm happy to say that I've just hit the 2 year mark with Shippo. So the
Nice.
rest, you could say, it's been history.
That's great. Congrats.
Thank you.
What's maybe your number one tip for working remote?
I'd say my number one tip for anyone considering going remote would be to know how to set your boundaries, know how to work your schedules, and know how to like fight for that work-life balance. Because when I first started working remote, I didn't have to waste time in like commutes. I didn't have to be stuck in traffic. So I thought that I had more time to work. But in the end, in my previous jobs, I got overworked. I felt overwhelmed, and I came to realize that it was because I wasn't setting my boundaries, and I wasn't like setting those limits for my teams. So my biggest tip would be to give your all during your working hours. I know that sometimes extra hours are needed, and it's fine to put in the extra work and give the extra mile, but it definitely shouldn't be the default setting. So that's what I would say. It would be super important for anyone considering to know how to set their limits.
Love it. Love it. Well, you've been there for, you said, right at 2 years or so
Yeah.
at Shippo. How has the role evolved in those 2 years? Like were you always quote unquote senior executive assistant? Was that something that kind of you grew into? Yeah, tell us a little bit about what's the difference between Ricky, 22 months ago and Ricky now in this role.
Yeah, so as far as the title goes, I wasn't always a senior EA. That was the growth path that I'm on at Viva. And basically at Viva, everyone joins as an EA or a junior EA, and then they grow into a senior EA once we've shown like all of the core competencies, all of the core EA skills. And then once we're ready to take that path for the senior EA position, which is basically the same in terms of business, but then once you become a senior EA, you're more exposed to leadership positions. And I'm just explaining the Viva side, and then I'll jump to the Shippo
Yeah,
side.
yeah.
So once you become a senior EA at Viva, you get more exposed to leadership positions, and you have the option to become a customer success lead, which basically means that you're able to coach and have partial oversight over junior EAs. And that's something that I always wanted to do. I always wanted to become a CSL, because my goal at Viva is to become a customer success manager, which is the next path. So that's kind of like how the evolution happens on Viva side. But then on Shippo, the role has evolved quite a bit and it continues to evolve. I always say that there's every day is different, and that's something that I enjoy about the role, and that's something that keeps it interesting. But in my case in particular, it evolved quite a bit because I've been supporting many different executives throughout my time at Shippo, because Shippo has subscribed to Viva's plan and has expanded. So we have grown the EA Viva team at Shippo. So every time we had a new Viva EA join the team, we had to kind of like redistribute executives and EAs to optimize the support. Um, so as you may know, every time that I supported a new executive, things changed, things evolved because I had to like get used to them, learn their preferences, learn their priorities and stuff like that, and understand like their personalities. But in a more like general or high level point of view, through my time at Chippo, I've been able to earn more trust from my executives. I've been able to expand my scope, collaborate more cross-functionally, and that naturally will expand like the responsibilities that I have. I first started doing like admin work, and that will be it. But now I have more of an operations role across some teams. So I guess the biggest evolution I've seen in my role comes from the time in my tenure at Chippo and being able to like expand my scope, and also having the advantage of having supported many different executives throughout the time that I've been here.
Awesome. That's great. So is just for those curious then, is Viva primarily or maybe even exclusively hiring people in Latin America, or is is there opportunities for, assistance in other countries to apply as well?
We hire in Latin America. Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about the leadership mindset. You mentioned practically how your role has changed, but how how do other EAs and maybe how have you in your career, how have you changed this mindset from, hey, I'm just an EA or I'm just the assistant to, hey, I'm actually a leader. I'm leading teams, I'm leading executives, I'm leading the organization. What have you done to help yourself, and how can assistants listening shift that mindset? Say, hey, I'm not just the EA or the assistant. I am a leader assistant. I am a leader.
Okay. So I think that's a very deep question because to be super blunt with you, that's something that I believe everyone keeps working on a continuous basis, let's say. I think that that's something that you need to work on every single day, and that's something that you need to keep, that's a muscle that you need to keep training every day. And there's not a point in time where you say like, okay, I'm a leader now, I'll always be, and I'll never have to worry about building that skill again. But in my case, it was mostly about staying humble and also learning how to be confident with myself. Because when I first joined Shippo, like I said, I had never had any experience supporting any executives. I had never been an EA, and I had never worked for a U.S. company where I had such a close relationship with leadership team members in such high positions. I'd never worked with C-suite executives. I'd never had conversations with like CTOs, CEOs. I'd never been exposed to that. So when I first was exposed to that, I was a little bit it felt daunting because I was like, okay, I'm just a kid. I've never been an EA. How can I walk up to to these people and be like, hey, I have these and these ideas. I think that this could be better. I think we can improve this. So at first, I think that it's really important for executive assistants, giving themselves the space to like settle into their role, not rush into things, and just get a feel for who they're working with, what their roles are, what their scopes are. And once that you feel comfortable in your role, once you feel comfortable with the things that you're doing, with the people that you're interacting with, then you can start to take active steps to build that muscle and to discard that I'm just the assistant mindset. In my case, that looked like analyzing my executives' personalities, building a personal bond with them so I could feel comfortable with them. And then once that I understood who I was working with, what were my core responsibilities, what my role was about, then I was able to feel more confident. I knew what I was doing. I knew that I was doing a good job. And I think that carries a lot of collateral benefits because once you feel comfortable with yourself, I think that the rest of the pieces of the puzzle will kind of like fall into place, and you'll just have to nudge a few things in the right direction from time to time. But yeah, in a nutshell, I think that executive assistants should give themselves the space to breathe at first, settle in, and then once they're comfortable in their space, in their element, then they can start working on that muscle to become leaders. And that can look different for everyone. I've always said that we all share the same title, but we don't share the same role, depending on who you're supporting, which company you're on, which country you're on. I mean, there are a lot of nuances that play an important factor into what your role is, regardless of the title.
I love that. So what do you do though when you're doing that and you're working through that, you're getting progress and all that, but then the imposter syndrome comes, right? Like you get some feedback, you think things are going well, but then you wake up and you're just like, yeah, you know what? I don't know if I actually have what it takes, or who am
What
I
it
to be
takes.
doing
Yeah.
this, So like, how have you dealt with imposter syndrome in your career?
Yeah, so it's sad to say that I've dealt with imposter syndrome quite a lot, but my technique here, it might sound I don't know if it's something that a lot of people do. I kind of feel like we do. It's kind of like a guilty pleasure, I guess. But throughout my time at Viva and Shippo, I have been able to receive good feedback from the people that I've worked with. I've received shout outs, I've received thoughtful notes. I even get birthday and anniversary cards. And every time that I feel like I'm not doing good enough, that I don't have what it takes, I usually just go back and read those because I try to find that validation internally, and I try to remind myself that I got to where I am because I have what it takes, because I've been a good element, because I've shown that my performance is at the level that it needs to be. But then there's always that little voice in the back of your head saying, "Are you sure though? Are you Delulu, like people say online?" Um, but I've been lucky enough to have a lot of resources and a lot of tools that help me find that validation externally, like text messages from my executives saying how grateful they are for my support, from my peers whenever I get shout outs from different initiatives that I've driven. And Viva is also great at getting that feedback from executives because our performance cycle, our performance metrics and everything, the process at Viva is that our managers will actually reach out to our executives on a quarterly basis, and they will meet with them and they will get their feedback, and then they'll share it with us. So I'm lucky to have a lot of resources and feedback, written, verbal, and everything from the people that I've worked with. And whenever I feel like I'm not doing a good job or not good enough, I usually go back to those.
The Leader Assistant Academy is an AI-powered, on-demand professional development resource. It's for growth-minded executive assistants and administrative professionals just like you. When you enroll in the Academy, you get access to the Leader Assistant course plus streaming access to the audiobook. The course includes video lessons for each chapter of the Leader Assistant book, as well as the entirety of the Leader Assistant workbook study and discussion guide. Additionally, you get access to my exclusive Academy newsletter where I share thoughts on the state of the administrative profession, behind the scenes of my business, and sneak peeks at upcoming projects. Your enrollment also includes a one-on-one 25-minute coaching session with yours truly. But my favorite part of the Academy is the AI agent, which I've named ACE. ACE is the only AI agent on Earth trained on the Leader Assistant book, workbook, course, and Academy newsletter. So if you need guidance at 2 a.m. on a Thursday because you have a big meeting coming up with your executive and you want to ask for help, you can log on to the Academy, interact with ACE, and this AI agent will help you along your journey, guiding you to specific resources that are actually helpful in that moment. To find out more and enroll in the Leader Assistant Academy, visit leaderassistant.com/academy. That's super helpful. I know my friend Maggie Jacobs talks about like this kudos list, like having just a list of anytime somebody gives you kudos, then mark it down, document it, and even present it when you are in your performance review or when you have a business case to ask for more money and to ask for a raise, like
Yeah,
present all of the kudos that you've gotten. So that's a super helpful tip. Um, awesome, Ricky. Well, what I do when I ask my guests ahead of time, I say, hey, what topics would you like to discuss? And one thing you mentioned was the impact that the Leader Assistant book has had on your team of EAs. So tell us a little bit about that. Did you get the book for the team? Did you do like a little book club or discussions through it? What was that process like? And yeah, tell us a little bit more about how that was helpful.
sure. So I found the book, I believe it was on LinkedIn, or I'm not entirely sure where I found it, but I just know that the second that I read The Leader Assistant on the book cover, I was like, I need to get this book, I need to read it. And I'll be real, I bought it selfishly because I wanted to read it myself, and I wanted to just I wanted to use it as like a playbook, let's say, to up my game as an EA, because right at the time I was actually working on my promotion to senior EA. So my manager had given me feedback about how she wanted to see me be more proactive of finding resources online, like buying books, enrolling in webinars or master classes or something to improve my skills to get to that level needed for the senior EA role. So I found this book. I thought, hey, this is what I need. So I bought it and I started reading it. But also a part of the feedback that my manager had said, our culture at Viva is very big on empowering each other and being there for our colleagues and growing them as we grow ourselves. And she was telling me like, hey, I want to see you do more for the team. I want to see you proactively get involved in initiatives or projects where your objective is to grow the team and help them improve their skills and help them be better EAs as well. So as I was starting to read the book, I was like, hey, I can kill two birds with one stone here. I'll read the book for myself and I'll share content with my teammates. So what I did is I started putting out weekly knowledge capsules in our learning Slack channel with the rest of the team. And each of the chapters was one knowledge capsule, and then I condensed everything into one single repository in Notion, and I kept sending them on a weekly basis, and they really resonated with the team. There were a couple of topics that maybe were, I don't know if I want to say more relevant or that resonated more with the team based on what they were experiencing with their own executives and in their roles. But one of the biggest things that was a huge hit was the part in the book where you cover the core skills that an EA must have to be able to excel in the role and become a leader assistant. So things like, and I have them written down here. Things like being discerning, things like being steady, humble, future-proof. Those were all things that the team, when we were discussing it async in the threads in Slack, they were like, "Hey, this is so obvious. I don't know how I didn't think about this." Or "Hey, this is super relevant. We should double click on this. We should do a learning session on this." So that's kind of like how that journey played out. It started out as a me project, but then it kind of like snowballed into a Viva wide initiative for the rest of the team.
That's amazing. Thanks for sharing, and I appreciate you taking that initiative and doing that week to week work of consolidating the info and putting it in front of your team so that it's more bite-sized, like it's tangible. It's not this overwhelming, like, hey, here's this book, you should read it. It's like, hey, here's a tip on this. And it comes from the book, sure, if you want to dig deeper, but that's a great way to lead a team. So thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that.
Of course.
So, as we wrap up, Ricky, one other question I had was what are kind of the differences that you've had to navigate, maybe culturally, between, Guatemala and your US based team that you support?
So there's definitely a little bit of a culture shock there because the main thing that I've come to realize, and this wasn't really a new thing for me because ever since I was young, my aunt, my mom's sister, she married a guy from the U.S. and I used to spend time during my end of year school breaks at their home. So I've been really exposed to U.S. culture before. But one of the things that definitely hit hard when you are a person from Latin America starting to work with people from North America, from the US, is that we are super warm, we are super friendly, we are super like upbeat. And I'm not saying that US Americans are not, but it's a little bit different. I mean, folks from the US are usually a little bit colder, they're less I don't know, excitable, I guess you could say. Um, I mean, for example, I will go up to someone and be like, "Hey, good morning. How are you doing? How's your morning going? Did you have breakfast?" And then someone from the US will be like, "Hey, good morning," and that will be it.
Yeah, yeah.
When I had to deal with that culture shock with my executives, I came to realize that communication was something that I definitely had to adjust because I had to keep reminding myself, you're not talking to someone from Guatemala, you're not talking to someone from Viva who are Latin Americans, you're talking with people from the US and they communicate differently, and that's fine. You just need to adjust the way that you communicate. And there was also an extra layer of complexity there because Shippo also has a very European presence in their leadership team. And that's an extra layer because Europeans are also quite different. I actually work, one of my executives, Simon, the head of go-to-market, he's German. So that means like communication needs to be super concise, super to the point. And that's fine as well. I mean, it's just a matter of knowing who you're talking to, how they communicate, and adjusting yourself accordingly.
Love it. Thanks so much for sharing, Ricky, and appreciate all the work you've done in your career, but also just in the team that you work with and the other assistants at Viva and how you've mentored and equipped them well. So appreciate you being on the show. Any last words for assistants listening before we wrap up?
I guess the only last words would be thank you for listening. I hope that you learned something. I hope that I was able to contribute my little grain of sand to your growth. And I look forward to knowing more about how the EA community globally keeps growing and becoming the leaders that companies need.
Awesome, awesome. And I'll put your LinkedIn profile in the show notes if that's all right, so people can reach out and say hi. Leaderassistant.com/360, leaderassistant.com/360. I'll put the Viva website on there too, but you guys can reach out to Ricky and say hi and connect and learn more about what he's up to. And yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. And thank you, Ricky, for taking time out of your day to chat with me.
Quite the opposite. Thank you, Jeremy.
Please review on Apple Podcasts. GoBulls.com.
The ping pong back and forth game of manually scheduling meetings is unnecessary and inefficient in today's automated world. It's time to embrace calendar automation for increased productivity and capacity. You Can Book Me by Capacity is my favorite automated booking solution. It's a game changer for me and my executive. You can manage scheduling for your entire executive team, send automated reminders, add buffer time between appointments, and much more. You Can Book Me integrates with your existing Microsoft and Google calendars so you can add automation without disrupting your current workflow. Go to leaderassistant.com/calendar to learn more and sign up for a free trial of this powerful scheduling automation tool. That's leaderassistant.com/calendar.